But we basically followed all the agile methodologies. We think we were doing really, really well, but still we still had some key challenges. So I think this is going to be no different from what every one of us have day in, day out. So basically everyone in our team had issues. So each one had their own set of problems. So stakeholders. Here stakeholders for us would be like a product owner, or it could be a car manufacturers or a source who are integrating with us. So basically we had effort, cost, time inefficiencies, and the quality of product became questionable. And for the developers, they had their own side of statement. They said always effort overruns are there. We do not have enough time to complete our task within the committed sprint. We cannot deliver everything. And for managers, it's a different set of problem. We do capacity-based planning, so velocity. We do based on velocity. So the managers commit to the product team that yes, we will deliver so-and-so capacity for a particular release. We are not able to do so. And this actually raises cost implication. Whenever there are issues, there are always conflicts. And then when there are conflicts, obviously it leads to a low team morale. So this is all something our managers had to deal with day in, day out. Testers. For testers, it's always, testers always are kind of bottlenecks for any particular system. They get tagged as, okay, you are the bottleneck. They say they had their own side of story saying that we do not participate very well in the test estimation. Then we don't have enough time for testing. So the quality of the product gets questionable. So these were really, really our high-level problems. So now that we know the problem, we wanted to really see, okay, where can we start? We need a starting point to address these problems. So the best thing is to look at your historical data. You go back and look at your historical data of what you did so far, how you did. So this is basically a sampling of our data, basically a velocity chart where it said, okay, we planned so much, we delivered. So if you're not able to see at the back, so the bar in the gray is what we planned, and the green is something which we achieved. So consistently, we were not able to plan at a certain level, and at the same time, whatever we planned, we were not able to achieve. So it becomes very hard for a team like us to do a capacity-based planning. And also there were estimation errors ranging from 30% to 70%. So this was basically the core problem that we could nail out from the historical data that we reviewed. Well, we know since we are doing, we are not estimating very well, we had to go back and look how we estimated. So this is just the way that we did. So it is basically, we did not follow any method or specific methodology or anything. We did have consensus-based technique for estimation, which we call ourselves like unstructured, for this presentation, I'm actually naming it unstructured group estimation. So what we did here is the product owner or the moderator will present one story at a time, and one or two developers would volunteer an estimate. Then consensus is achieved, the moderator will ask the rest of the team if they agree with that, and usually when such things happen, only the people who talk more or dominant personalities will volunteer an estimate, and the rest think that if they say something, it may not fit in very well, so they keep quiet. So most of the times only dominant people volunteer, and they discuss the estimates and nobody objects. And basically a consensus arrived, and we pick up an estimate for the next story. So when everything is completed, we will implement the story, and actual effort was recorded. So this was our process before. So, so now that we know that whatever we are doing is not very accurate, we need to fix it. What do we do? What do we do to improve that? So a few things I've listed here for the lowlights. Basically, so basically when we are estimating, we don't do enough analysis. When a moderator is presenting, people don't ask questions. It's just that SMEs who say, okay, this is going to take so and so time. So not, opportunity is given for everybody to ask a question. So whatever is given is being taken. And then lack of participation. So it's not mandatory for everybody in the test team to attend. In our development team, which includes the developer and the tester. So whoever wanted only attended. So then the estimate also becomes biased. And then we did not have any adequate methodology or guidelines for estimating. And QA was certainly the bottleneck because we were not involving QA for our estimates very, very effectively. We just give a slot for that, but not very effectively. Okay, if 30% is for testing time. So basically it's all development driven. It was development driven. So we know, now that we know the low lights, we wanted to ensure that we want to improve on. So what is that we want to improve on as an outcome? We wanted to do a realistic release planning. We want to utilize the people who very, very effectively. We have to control cost. We have to increase consistency in meeting the deadline. So when we commit something, we should be able to meet. And then quality deliverable, which is really, really important. So this was our aim as an outcome of all these processes. So the next few things is what I'm going to talk about is how we achieve that. Right? So introduction of planning poker. Anyone plays poker? Yeah, quite a few hands. All right, so let's play at work. It's going to be fun playing at work. All right, so basically, I'm actually going to play a small video so that it's more visual and you can make a sense, but let me explain what this planning poker is. Basically, you give a deck of cards to everybody. So everybody, for this meeting, everybody should be there. Product owner is there, moderator will be there, and everybody in the team, developers and testers. So testers, it can be a representative. You can tailor to however you want. You can have 2 testers or you have just your test lead participate in this discussion. So everybody is given a deck of cards. Usually that will have a sequence of number in the card. Then what happens, like a typical group estimation, story is presented. By moderator will present the story to the entire team, and team will ask questions. Product owner is there to answer your questions. And when everybody is clear on what the requirement is, each of the participant flips the card saying that, okay, this is my estimate for this particular story. And then if everybody agrees or has the same card flipped over, then there's no discussion further. The card is closed, and the story points, they are entered in the system, and you move on to the next story to estimate. But if there are discrepancy, like you say 20 points, I say 10 points, then that's a big gap. So then it's the role of the moderator to question, okay, why did you say 20? Why did you say 10? They will have their own versions. Then the voting process will happen until a consensus is achieved. So let me play a video so that it's more clear rather than vocal.
Works. The technique is called planning poker, and it's loosely based on the Delphi and wideband Delphi approaches that date back to the Rand Corporation in the 1940s. In planning poker, each estimator, which should be everybody on the team, is holding a set of cards that contain the numbers the team has agreed to use as their...
Just a second, sorry, isn't clear, I'm just going to play it.
Let's talk about how to pull all these ideas together into an estimating approach that works. The technique is called planning poker, and it's loosely based on the Delphi and wideband Delphi approaches that date back to the Rand Corporation in the 1940s. In planning poker, each estimator, which should be everybody on the team, is holding a set of cards that contain the numbers the team has agreed to use as their estimates. Normally this will be the modified Fibonacci sequence, but that's really up to the team. The product owner reads a product backlog item, usually a user story, to the team. The team and the product owner discuss the item. Team members ask questions. The product owner clarifies expectations. This can be as short as a few seconds, but it can take as long as needed. Once each team member has decided upon an estimate, they pull that card out of their hand, holding it so no one else can see it. When everyone has picked an estimate, the cards are revealed all at the same time. If everyone is holding up the same number, we're done. Write that number down as the estimate and move on. But if the numbers are different, we discuss it and then estimate again. Let's see an example. During the first round, our estimators hold up a 3, 8, a 2, and a 5. At this point, I really want to hear from the outliers. Why an 8? Why a 2? Anybody can talk, but in this case, I would really want to hear from Vadim and Ann. Vadim might say, well, I'm the tester on this project, and this is going to be really hard to test. I need to build a new test framework, and so on. Ann says, well, Vadim is right. My 2 is too low, I'm going to come up. But I've programmed this type of thing before, and it's not that hard. So I'm coming up, but not all the way to an 8. Anyone can talk at this point, but I especially want to hear from the outliers. After anyone who wants to has had a chance to talk, each team member again picks a number from the cards in their hands. And then all at once, the cards are revealed. This time, let's say we get 3 5s and an 8. At this point, I'd ask Chris with his 8 to give us an impassioned plea for why 8 is the right estimate. I was with a team a little while ago that had all 8s except for one 13. I asked the guy with the 13 why. Boom, boom, boom. He gave 3 good reasons why he thought it was a 13. And on the next round, everyone switched to agree with him. So notice this isn't a vote. We don't say that the majority rules and pick a 5. We keep going until we get to a consensus. The consensus may be a little false, but that's okay. Suppose we go another 2 or 3 rounds with Chris holding up an 8 while the rest of us have 5s. At that point, I'd probably ask Chris if he thinks we've heard his arguments, but that we just disagree. If he does think we've heard him, he will eventually fold and hold up a 5. I'm okay with Chris folding. After all, the difference between 8 and 5 isn't that great, and we're pretty far up the effort accuracy curve we saw a few minutes ago. Now, if Chris had been holding up a 100 instead of an 8, I wouldn't want him to fold. If we're that far apart, we're probably facing one of 2 problems. 1, product uncertainty, which is the product owner saying something like, "Good question. I better run that by some users. It could go either way." Or 2, technical uncertainty, which is when the team thinks that doing the user story will be easy if they use one particular technical approach, but hard if they take another approach. So whether it's product uncertainty or technical uncertainty, if the estimates are hopelessly far apart, put the story aside, do the research, and then estimate the user story next week or whenever you get together again. Or consider using a range if reducing the uncertainty will take more effort than you want to or can invest. If team members ask the product owner what type of bear, koala bear or grizzly bear, and the product owner can't say, your best option is to write down 5 to 100. One challenge with relative estimating is how to get started.
The moderator has to be really, really strong. He should be in a position to negotiate things really well. He cannot let the discussions also continue so much. Basically, whoever has a concern should be able to tell what the problem is, why there is a deviation. So when the moderator anchors it, there will definitely be an answer to that, and they will fold it. So it's basically the anchoring is really, really important in this technique. Yes. So that's the thing about here. See, you have in a team of say 10 to 15 members, you will have few freshers who are SMEs, who know the system moderately well. So when you discuss, and you obviously a person who is less experienced will have a lesser number or a relatively higher number, right? So when you talk, right, when you discuss, okay, why do you say it's low? So the person who doesn't know a system may not know the impact on the other side. So then an expert who knows the other part of the system will tell, okay, this is you have missed this in your estimation. So your assumptions, right, you assume few things and estimate, those assumptions are getting addressed when you do as a group. Because when you have a small group, then that group estimates based on only what they know. When you have everybody in the system, then that's when you get precision more. Yeah, obviously, you know where, you also know the team, right? You know who knows what. But this one encourages everybody, whether you know the system or not, you are expected to vote. That's when you increase the system. So maybe 1 or 2, 3 sprints, if I'm new to the system, I may not be very actively participating, or I might feel hesitant, or even I may be shy to show a card which is like 100 points when the realistic thing is 8. But I might feel shy, but that is how we train the people to estimate and then increase their estimation confidence. So this will, does that answer your question? Yes, sir. So this is basically in one sitting. So Delphi, I think you have to do, basically we have not done that, but I think it goes back and forth, right? It's anonymous, it goes back and forth. So this, for a sprint planning, we do it in one session. We complete in one session. Everything in probably an hour and a half. We finish everything. So you agree then and there. It's no going back, no coming again and estimating. It's everything is done in one session. It's quick, it's effective. I can show you some data points later on in the session. Mm-hmm. Right. Maybe you see, the thing is when we also, like your case, we had a couple of freshers join the team. First 2 sprints, they watch what we do. Okay, experienced people in the system.
The development team and the testing team. Testing team member will not know anything about the development.
Right, so I can come back to that when actually how we tailored that. So this is the generic guideline. It is an open method, you can use variation. So in our team, now that this question has come, the question is how do testers vote on this? That's the question. So to address that, so the testers do not vote for development task, right? So the testers will be there, they listen all the requirements, the developers vote, they all agree on the consensus, and then the tester estimate goes. It adds on to it. That's how we do it. That's how we have tailored to our process. Because as a tester, I don't know the development effort. So I cannot vote for it. So development team votes, they get a consensus, and then the tester, usually we keep a QA lead for that. QA lead or a manager participates in this discussion. He adds on to the QA points, which will include everything. Mm-hmm.
Because he knows about that technology, he will estimate, but nobody's there where you know to estimate for that task.
See, at least for our team, what happens is we have client team, we have a backend team. So we don't involve the client team in this discussion because this set of story or this one is particular to a particular platform guide. So it's at the backend, the stories are that's how we have organized ourselves. So if it is a UI or a iOS or an Android application thing, they have their own set of thing where people have the same competency. Does that answer your question? Oh. So in that case, if you have only one estimate, then you are the ruler, whatever you say. Correct. So the team is again Scrum. As such in Agile, we have your own teams, right? It's like you have your backend team, you have your client team. So Scrums and this one also happens because it doesn't really make sense to have a client or a UI guy estimate for a backend change. So that discussion, because even that's how we organize even our features. Features are bucketed in that way. I'm sorry, I couldn't specifically address your question. But generally, when you expect you work on the same team, same project, that is the expectation here. Yes.
At times, what happens is when the product owner tells you a user story, you are not aware of the complete details.
Correct.
So, like if I estimate a 3, I may be underestimating it because I don't know the complete details.
Correct.
How do we correct these kind of
So having the product owner enter accurate details. So that goes in your retrospective. See, when you say you estimate, right? You estimate low or high, or even in that session, your product owner may give you information. So it's up to the team and to the anchor to get all the required details because your product owner is available in that particular meeting. So he can explain to you. Or even if he doesn't have a clue, like in the video they said, you don't estimate at that point. You keep that. Keep that. Once he comes back with clarity, you can go back and estimate. In the sprint planning, after the planning, so basically how for us we do is, once backlog items, you would say, okay, these are the backlog items that we will go for this particular release, right? Then we estimate everything and then we put that into iterations. So
after the QE,
sorry,
in what phase it has been done?
the beginning, estimation you always do at the beginning, right? Before implementation.
See, what I see, the engineers, do you mean the engineers are involved before you code this for some customers?
Yes. Estimates are the first step. You estimate.
That much of visibility that to include the engineer, because what I think that if I have a project, then I can make a team. I don't have any team right now. But we want to bid for a project. That's how we get the project. Then we construct the team.
No, actually what we are talking about is once you get the project and when you start implementing it, how many years?
So
more of an
when you get the
implementation.
project, you have already given the cost. So now you have to manage within that cost. Whatever you estimate does not make much difference.
No, it's more about your commitment.
For a service-based company, but in product-based companies, you essentially go through this process because you're building a product.
It's basically,
You have a team, and then you're estimating how long it would take for you to develop a feature or a product. Then you use this.
so that's bidding, that will be probably a different thing. Here you have a team, you want to deliver a certain set of features to your customers. That's when this one really fits in.
The process is fine when you're trying to arrive at a consensus. So all you're trying to do is basically not have a few people have a say. You're trying to get the whole stakeholder group involved. But how does this improve the accuracy of your planning? Like when you measure, you showed the graph saying, I estimated it at 10 days, but I completed only 8 days worth of scope, or its actuals turned up to 15. How does this process help me in improving my
Okay,
accuracy?
so that again goes back to the same thing. When we have the SMEs also, you have everybody in the team, right? So when I might have missed on an assumption, I might assume something and I estimate something. But you as an expert, you will know that, you will tell me, no, you missed in this. So that's when the accuracy increases. Precision, you are getting that precision there. Because only if an SME is doing also, it is also biased, you don't hear others, right? So SME will know certain things, not everything, the whole system. So that's when you bring in the group together. So that is where it addresses your accuracy question. Correct.